and especially the topic of sports washing, and if that is what we're experiencing, has it backfired for Qatar?
I think that's too early to say. I think it's a high-risk gamble getting the World Cup. Of course, it puts them on the world stage. Greatest sporting event that takes place on anyone's calendar, I think, even more than the Olympics. I think we'll have to wait and see if it's going to backfire on them. But they must have made the calculation the risk was worth taking, because the eyes of the world are on here. All the human rights activists are now pointing a finger at what's going on here, and we'll have to wait and see how it pans out for them.
Do you think already, though, there's been so much negative press, so much attention on what's happening in this country and the way that migrant workers are being treated? Do you think that alone is not negative enough for it to be backfiring?
They'll be praying that the football's a great tournament and people will only be talking about that going forward. But I'm afraid, you know, there's so many activists out there, they will forever be talking about Qatar and their human rights record. That's a fact of life. They have to deal with that. And by having a World Cup here, they have a chance to put certain things right, but they're not going to put everything right. We don't live in a perfect world. No one lives in a perfect world.
No.
Roy, we saw yesterday.
I think, just on the back of what Graeme is saying there, the World Cup shouldn't be here. It shouldn't be here. It's been mentioned there with the people there about the corruption regarding FIFA. You've got a country, the way they treat migrant workers, gay people. And that's got to be, I think it's great that it's been brought up. They shouldn't have the World Cup here. You can't treat people like that. We all love football, we love soccer, we're not about spreading the game. But just to dismiss human rights flippantly that because of a football tournament, it's not right. It shouldn't be here.
We saw Iran yesterday. They were protesting in their own way by not singing the national anthem, and that's because of what's happening to women in their country as well. And sometimes, Joe, football, in terms of bringing football to a place like this or a big stage, a world stage, even in countries that it's not being held at the moment, like Iran, it's a chance, isn't it, to really put the microscope on it.
It is, and that's exactly what's happened. The light of the world's been shined on here. You know, one thing we've learned is that certain cultures have different values to us and different beliefs. And I think what will happen is, I hope it would enforce change over a period of time. Like Graeme said, nothing will change immediately. But you know, football can be used as a great, powerful tool for change all around the world. But when you talk about FIFA and you talk about other things like that, it is very, very difficult. For, you know, the migrant workers and the way they do the gay people and things like that. It's a difficult one.
Football is such a vehicle for good and bad. You know, the sports washing that's going on in our own country. Newcastle, there's no way the Saudis should have Newcastle United. Shouldn't be anywhere near it. But it's not an ideal world that they operate in. You know, the Saudis have been investing in our country for decades. You know, they've infiltrated every level of our society. You know, football now has such a profile that the Saudis see it, the people in Abu Dhabi see it, the Americans see it. It's a chance to improve whatever brand they're involved in. You know, right now it's a good news story about Man City. But that brand of Man City and the other clubs that they have bought, the Abu Dhabi royal family, it's only good news about them all throughout the world. And I suppose Qatar will look on Abu Dhabi with a bit of jealousy, and they'll be hoping that after this tournament, it's such a good tournament, and it's in their hands to improve the workers' rights. It's in their hands to improve diversification in the country. You know, the LGBTQ society, they won't go quietly. They'll be on it all the time, long after this World Cup. And that's the risk that they've taken. They've highlighted the problems within this country, and people will be on them for the foreseeable future, if not forever.
The bottom line, we're talking about common decency, how you treat people. We go over it again, the way the sport is boxing, it's soccer, obviously, the greatest sport on the planet. And there's so much money involved, there will be corruption. But let's get back to basics. You've got to treat people with decency. Should start and finish with that.
Okay, thank you, guys.
Yeah, can I just say, we're not perfect as well in our history. We're not perfect. You know, the British have not been perfect in many different parts of the world, and including in Roy's country. We've been far from perfect.